James Gunn's Superman soars past Zack Snyder's legacy-making movie, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, with its box office collection. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Please like, share and subscribe for more. In James Gunn's universe of gods and monsters, the Man of Tomorrow is grounded squarely in the here and now. After an eternity of controversies, fans have collectively heaved a sigh of relief as DCU unites everyone with its ambitious yet heartwarming portrayal of Superman. Here, the Kryptonian hero isn't diminished by hatred, manipulation, and moral complexities, but rises above every challenge, even one as confounding as his origin arc, to bring hope and heart to the story. James Gunn's Superman brought in the big bucks at the domestic box office this weekend as it officially surpassed Zack Snyder's highest-grossing DCU film, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. With $331.2 million in the bag, Box Office Mojo, Superman leaves BVS behind to bite the dust with the latter's $330.36 million, Box Office Mojo. Moreover, Superman's theatrical run is far from being over at this point. The movie has not only buried Snyder's crown but also fended off all three MCU giants of 2025, i.e., Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolts**, and Fantastic Four, to stand alone at the top, and all before hitting digital release, too. This also marks the first time in 17 years that DC has beaten Marvel at the box office since Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight overshadowed Iron Man in 2008. Superman serves its audience well on that front, as James Gunn refuses to undermine the fans' intelligence. He blends as much humor and alacrity in the hero's arc as tragedy and ethical confundities in the world around him. The final product is so well-rounded and perfectly balanced, as all things should be, that it would impress even the mad titan, Thanos. In contrast, the biggest flaw that DCU presented was in its Civil War storyline between the world's finest duo. The driving central narrative of Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice was vengeance and vendetta, as both heroes prioritized their own selfish needs in a testosterone-fueled mix of action and eye-roll-inducing one-liners. Tell me, do you bleed? Need I say more? Meanwhile, the highest that any Zack Snyder movie has rated on the list is at number 26 with the 2021 director's cut of Justice League. On the other end of the spectrum lies Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, which is the lowest rated of all Snyder films, including Watchmen and Joss Whedon's murky Justice League, 2017. It currently holds a paltry rating of 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. This low on the list, BVS is left to contend with the humiliating dregs of the DC live-action universe, like Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, 2011, George Clooney's Batman and Robin, 1997, and Halle Berry's Catwoman, 2004. Among all the DC Comics movies ever released, James Gunn's Superman ranks number 14 on the list of Rotten Tomatoes critical reception with its 83% rating. As such, the 2025 movie that launched Chapter 1 of DCU now has the rare honor of occupying the same space as Christopher Nolan and Richard Donner classics. The only DCU movies in which Superman falls behind are Wonder Woman, Shazam, and The Suicide Squad, none of which are directed by Snyder, with the latter being James Gunn's own work. Do you think James Gunn's 2025 film has surpassed the artistry of Zack Snyder's DC Extended Universe? Share your thoughts in the comments below. DCU director James Gunn voiced his character in Rick and Morty and came face-to-face with DCU director Zack Snyder in the animated show. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Please like, share and subscribe for more. James Gunn hops down to the Warner Brothers cafeteria to grab some food, where he runs into a jacked-up Zack Snyder eating a box of creatine for lunch. The two have some back-and-forth talk wherein Zack Snyder takes the opportunity to tease James Gunn about Superman. It was a sunny morning when DCU director James Gunn found himself in a recording booth for Rick and Morty, where he was asked to voice himself in Season 8 Episode 7 of the show, Ricker Than Fiction. Gunn wasn't alone, as Zack Snyder, the man known for directing DCU movies like Man of Steel and Zack Snyder's Justice League, was also going to be a part of that episode. The two would go head-to-head in the animated episode at the Warner Brothers cafeteria, where the verbal fights are devastating. While speaking with Variety, executive producer Scott Marder revealed that both guys were very good sports when they came in for their recording sessions. Zack Snyder and James Gunn also subtly implied that they both watched Rick and Morty during their downtime. Both of those guys sort of implied that this is the show they watch when they have downtime. So they were thrilled to get to be a part of the world, and there was no pushback or bristling. Marder continued. If anything, they laughed at anything we threw at them. There were probably, frankly, even more digs and more silly things we could have used. All they did was laugh it off. Being a part of the Rick and Morty universe came with its perks and insults, as one iconic scene from the episode showed James Gunn and Zack Snyder coming face to face at the Warner Brothers cafeteria, and they talk about Gunn's upcoming film Superman. "Just saw your new cut of Superman," says Zack Snyder to James Gunn. "And word of advice, he's the Man of Steel, not the man of conversation. Do more shots of him punching." Snyder is obviously referring to how talkative David Corenswet's Superman appears to be in the trailer for the James Gunn flick. Although it was just a joke, Zack Snyder and James Gunn both took it very lightly and even added in some of their own punches which weren't in the script to create possibly one of the funniest banters between two frenemies in Rick and Morty. Of course, the dialogues were scripted and Gunn and Snyder were both aware of it. However, it simply felt good to see Zack Snyder teach something to James Gunn. Even though the latter did not ask for it, this is a very rough estimate by Box Office Theory, which hints at the possibility that Superman might just turn out to be better than Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Personally speaking, we do think that James Gunn's Superman will outperform Zack Snyder's Man of Steel because, unlike the 2013 movie, Superman is family-friendly and aimed towards hope and fighting spirit instead of Snyder's darker take on the reclusivity of hope and choosing lesser evil over greater. However, we'll know for sure when Superman debuts in theaters very soon. But until then, nothing can be confirmed or denied at the moment. Do you think James Gunn's Superman will be able to beat Zack Snyder's Man of Steel? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. According to the numbers, Man of Steel had a debut opening at $116 million back in 2013. Considering the THR report, Superman will allegedly have a debut opening of somewhere between $125 to $145 million, which easily puts it at an advantage. Zack Snyder remade George A. Romero's 1978 zombie flick and released Dawn of the Dead. However, Romero wasn't too impressed with it. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Please like, share and subscribe for more. Known as the godfather of the zombie genre, George A. Romero was very critical of the remake that Zack Snyder did of his 1978 film, Dawn of the Dead. Changing the game and upping the stakes, Snyder created his own version of the zombie flick based on Romero's work, and the Dawn of the Dead remake was released in 2004. Although Snyder found much fame and acclaim, Romero wasn't impressed, revealing to BFI that Snyder's movie lacked details. It's just like with the zombies. In Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead, 2004, they're all dressed the same and are in running shoes. He continued, "First of all, they shouldn't be running. They're all in blue jeans and running shoes, and that's it. But I try to make them nuns, or..." The contention between the two movies comes from the fact that, although it was a remake, Zack Snyder did shift several things from the source material. Naturally, George A. Romero was not a fan of Dawn of the Dead when it came out. Back in 2013,